So we have the beautiful Nikki with us because we are already recording. So I just love Nikki, and we just like talk, like this is just a catch up for us. But there we go. But the beautiful Nikki, and if you can share with us, Nikki is an incredible coach and also does RTT. And I'd just love to know a bit more about RTT, how you got into it. And then we'll get into the power of the subconscious, because it's just like where all the gold is. And I think, like, I know for me, it's been so helpful doing more work, accessing my subconscious. And I know for like working with women like you do, there's always a block. There always is a block. And even in relationships, there's this block. There's this thing which we think is like not us. Like we think we have no control over this block, as if someone has just like moved a road train in front of us. And it's like, okay, I'm here and I want to get over there, but there's nothing I can do about it because of this massive road train is parked there. But that's not actually true. So go for it.
Well, just will say, I don't just work with women, I work with men as well.
Oh, but, yes, you do now. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, no, I did initially. So that's why I said that. But now, because I had a lot of men approach me, and I felt like, why would I not?
Well, you're so approachable and you're so relatable. So I can understand why that would happen. Totally.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
Really?
Because my website is fully pink as well. But even I went to this wellness festival, the Kemp Wellness Festival, and it's like this really big exhibition place for like loads of spiritual practices, and it was lovely. It was so good, Aston. You would have been like, I've come home. I felt like I'd landed on the mothership. It was amazing. So we're there for the weekend, and my signage and everything is really pink. Just because I think it's a warm, nurturing, womb-like colour. And it's like, come into my womb, be nurtured. But everybody was from a womb and everybody wants to be nurtured. But it was 100%. Interesting. I thought it was going to put the men off.
Yep.
But they were drawn in. And like one guy in particular said, I've just had like this cacao ceremony, and then I had like this reading. And he said that I need to embrace more of this feminine energy. It was going to really be healing towards me. And I walked out of there and I just saw this big pink stand, and he came over to talk to me, and he left and came back later. He said, I'm sorry I left abruptly. I was nearly going to cry talking to you. And it was so lovely.
I got goosebumps. As soon as you started talking about that we all come from wombs, I was like, well, the other thing is like what Adam and I teach, we all have masculine and feminine energy. So of course we would be, because I mean, part of the problem is a lot of us are out of balance with that. We didn't have the love from our mother, or we didn't have the love from our father. And then our own feminine and masculine energy is all like out of balance. And then we project that. So, I just had to say that, full goosebumps. That's amazing.
Meaning again that we put on the masculine and feminine because someone may have made a subconscious decision to either plant themselves in one or the other, because if I'm like this, then that means. So for example, I had a client and she was struggling with feeling weak. I feel weak, like I'm a victim, that like I'm a walkover, and I get so angry with myself, but I feel like it's always this weak strong in the language, right? So I did an RTT session with her. And it turned out that she had these two archetype, parents. One was the weak mum, who was abused by the strong man.
Wow.
So she made the decision that I don't want to be an abuser. I don't want to be like my dad. So then as a child, she's decided, because this is the only thing we do, we go either I'm like mum or like dad, not like I'm like me or anybody else. So I've made the decision, I'm going to be like my mum. So of course she ends up in an extremely abusive relationship, really, really awful. And she felt so annoyed that she was still feeling weak and all this. And I said to her, we need to reframe strong meaning abusive. That's who was strong. Like between out of you and your husband, you were the one who took those kids and went to a refuge and rescued them. It literally gives me goosebumps now. You're thinking about, she's such an angel. I'm like, who was weak and let everything get on top of him, and took it out on this little woman and kids. I'm like, is that strong?
That is 100%.
It's not strong.
Just, it always comes back to the story, doesn't it? I mean, like you said, the meaning, the story. There isn't one definition for strong. There isn't one definition for weak, is there? Like, there really isn't. And the thing is, our perception creates that meaning, doesn't it? Or that story. And you're so right that we have to question that.
You know, she had no idea that she had that connotation with strength. Wow. So then if somebody ever was like, she had a resistance to being strong. Wow. Because she thought that's going to make me like him, and I don't want to be like him because he was big and strong. Yes. But it's like, no, it's the inner strength. And so I had her have this conversation, which is part of RTT. Yes. We'll go into that a little bit later, but have this conversation. It's like, I'm strong, you're weak. You were weak, you're pathetic. And it's like, I'm strong, and owning her strength as a positive. It was so empowering for her. She's like, I feel like I'm allowed to be this strong, fierce woman. And I'm like, absolutely, because she always pushed it away. She's like, no, I'm not strong. Please don't make me be strong. Yes. I don't want that. I want to be away from that. So then it was the weakness. So then her body was weak. Yeah. She had illnesses. She was always exhausted. You know, it was so amazing to find that. We found that in her subconscious. She wasn't aware that that's what she was thinking. Her mind was blown as much as mine as we were going through the process.
Wow, that's incredible.
It really was good. Like, she said, I'm able to let all of that go now. Yes. Because she's remarried. She's like, I just feel like, and to a lovely man. And she's like, I feel so distanced from that whole thing now because it doesn't define me, because it was defining her. Projecting this true part of herself, which all women have, which is this mama bear lioness energy.
Yes, which is all
the feminine is so it's all part of the feminine.
You know, that's 100% what I had to learn in myself as well, because I definitely had, you know, I was raised by strong women, and I think a lot of women can relate to that. We had this shift in the world into like a masculine direction, and it became like women, in order to be successful, needed to be strong, and so that means be like a man. But that's not true. Like, when you look at the feminine, she's like everything. I often say, like, pink is part of the feminine, but I consider myself feminine. I rarely wear pink. You know, I wear lots of creams, and but I also wear like navy blue, and I still think that's really feminine. So it's interesting that these stereotypes, this conditioning, you know, these stories that we grow up with, and you really have to unlearn them. And I feel like that's what your process helps them do, to simply, quickly, and effectively unlearn it, like see the truth and decide to create a new story, like that beautiful woman did. Take back her power and create a new story, one that actually means she can be who she is. Like, you know, and we're all worthy of that. It blows my mind that
without fear, then there was no connection to anything else. But I just want to say that it's Marissa Peer, because in case anybody listens to this and they want to look it up or find out more, you know, obviously I've got a website and everything, but it's like to really sort of research and to learn where it's come from. It's Marissa Peer. And she's all over YouTube. She's got hundreds of thousands of like subscribers, and she puts these different videos out. She's amazing.
She's incredible. I've watched so many and like listened to so many, and I'm like, wow, like so powerful. It's incredibly powerful. And RTT stands for, is it Rapid Transformational Therapy? Have I got it right? Yes. Okay, awesome. So for anyone listening, that's what it stands for, but definitely check it out. It's, you know, I'm for anything that helps you to get where you want to go faster. Like, if you can heal through something, let something go, because that is something that I know a lot of women and men struggle with, this thing of letting go of something. Like this, they've got so much resistance to, you know, not wanting to face that fear or let that thing go, you know, and
it's a fear of loss, because we all have this innate fear of loss. So letting go is same as losing something in the subconscious mind. You're like, if you release a part of you, and again, I always use different people that I've spoken to make the point, but I spoke to someone recently, and she's a coaching client, because I do rapid transformational coaching as well as RTT, and RTT makes up part of that program. So everyone will have one of those sessions, because of course you need that session. But this person said to me, my client, she was like, I said, what would happen if you just lost your memory completely, the whole of your past was just collapsed to nothing, and you were starting right here, right now? And she's like, I mean, what's stopping you from facing forward? And I'm not saying it's as easy as that, but I wanted to know her answer. And she was like, I feel like my whole identity is based on the past. And so I've been labeled as, and it was so astute, so bang on that she said it. She was like, I've always been the one with mental health issues. I've always been the one who cries a lot, the one that everybody worries about. And as much as I don't want that to be me, I don't know who I am without it. So as you said about the letting go, like, can we let go of all of these horrible things that have happened and really change your mindset on it? It's like, I want that, but if I let go of it, I'm losing my whole identity. People, it's like 40, 50 years of these behavioral adaptations, this new way of living, because of this is who I am. And when someone comes along like me and goes, no,
that's not who you are.
Oh, darling, that's not who you are. Then and so they go, yes, it is. Yes, it has to be. Because I don't feel safe, I don't feel secure, I need certainty, and I know this. So it is hard.
And it's
really hard.
We want to meet this need of certainty, so we'll meet it in negative ways. It blows my mind how we're wired to do this. And this is how someone can smoke knowing that it's giving them cancer, or it meets a need. I'm certain that this will make me feel this way, and it's going to meet this need, even though it's negative. I can't stop it. And this is why I have compassion and empathy for people with addictions, because it's meeting a need. It's been wired in them, and it's meeting a need. And until they can, go deeper, like the work you do, or work with a coach, to really pull out what need it's meeting, and like, wow, I'm doing this in a really unhealthy way. How can I do it in a healthy way? It does.
It's super specific as well. Like that, you need to find that thing for you. So all the generic, that you, and I get it. People want to be healed for free. Like, I want to look at it on YouTube, and I want to get it. I get it in my head. I was the same. I did that for years.
Well, so did I. When I first
book
started
from the library about it,
I
daren't spend any money on
100%.
myself.
I mean, I have read so many books, and I'm sure you have. I like self-help books, self-growth books. They are literally the only books I read. I'm just crazy. I always say to people, either I need a lot of help, or I just am really passionate about it. I think it's a mix of both. But even after working with coaches, I still read them, because it doesn't, like you said, it's so general. It's not specific. Like, it gives me, a general understanding.
You're looking for the specific answer for you, 100%. And you can't find it in a book or on a YouTube video. Like, you can get around it. But this is what I'm super, I would say I'm very impatient person. Like, I like things. I think
most of the population is these days with technology.
I don't mind if something can be quicker. And I think it's because I suffered from having a really long-winded healing process. Mine was like 6 years of utter graft. And then I found coaching, because I've been doing the counseling route, the YouTube library book route, making notes, doing meditation in my bedroom, and just crying my eyes out in the bath. And it wasn't really getting me that far. It was very slow. So then I found coaching, which I was like, this is monumentally better. This is so much better. But I still have these things that I can't find. And I was like, a gopher, you know, like dig, you know, look, searching everywhere. And I'm like, if I can't find it with all of my intention on this thing, like, I don't understand what more there, what else I can do.
Yes.
And so then I found Rapid Transformational Therapy, and it was like the gods had shined down on me. But when you ask enough, it just came into my peripheral, you know, like Marissa Peer, who's this? And I was looking at her, and then it was like, oh, she does this. I'm like, what is this? And then I'm on the course, and then I'm like, what is life? What?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And
then I started doing the sessions, and I'm like, this is really real.
Yes.
This is actually true. Because all the time I'm like being skeptical, like, maybe she's like a magician, you know, maybe she can just do this really well.
People think that about everything, don't they? Like, we're trained, we live in a pretty cynical world, and we're kind of trained to, you know, oh no, it can't be, like, you know, and I think our egos really don't want us to find the answer most of the time, you know, it doesn't want us to find another way to change the identity.
So if it's created an identity, which is what the ego has done, and the ego is saying you're weak for the reason that's underneath, but you're weak, it wants to be right.
Yes.
So if it's like, that's not going to work, that won't work, because that's keeping you stuck and low, which is what we're familiar with, and familiarity is safe.
Yes.
So there's the skepticism.
Yeah.
And people don't want to be let down and hurt again by trusting in something.
Yes.
So the ego's just there going, no. And I'm like, obviously, I've read enough books for free. I did enough free YouTube videos, but like I have invested actually in a lot of things as well.
Yes.
I now know that when the mind says, that's not, I'm like, park it for a minute, let me just see.
Yes, 100%. And I can relate to this so much that, and I have to remind my clients of this all the time. Me and you, we still invest, we're still doing this work. You don't just get to a point and stop. Like I said, when you're at the end, you're at the end. Like, life's over.
It's done.
So it's done. So we're not at the end. We're never at the end. Even my coaches are always doing more. So they still get scared, and that voice still comes to try and protect that identity, because you create a new identity at every level. So you're constantly working with, oh no, we like this identity now. You know, let's keep this one, not go to the next level. But exactly like you said, I've had to learn to be like, the number one thing that is never going to be a bad investment is investing in me. That is the number one thing. As long as I'm investing in me, the return is always going to be shown in my life, always. You know, and I've seen it enough times now that, you know, when I decide I am worthy, that, you know, I do deserve to find the answer, I do deserve the help, then the answers come. And like you said, when you decided, okay, well, I want to know what this thing is, show me how I'm going to see it, and it just comes into your space. I just love how the universe works like that. You know, it's that whole ask and you'll receive, if you're willing to open your eyes and, you know, receive the message. And then still,
there was no undertow of that, oh, there isn't a better way, or any negative attached to it. It was just, there must be a way. And then lo and behold, and it was just learning how to do a really impactful RTT session. And it takes practice, like with everything. It's a structured process. Like, there's a lot of intuition that goes into it. For me, some people might just follow the steps and do a perfectly great session. But for example, I had a lady the other day, and she came to me for a weight issue. And I put her into hypnosis, and before we'd even started the session, she started crying. And I was like, what are the tears about? What are you feeling? Like, she started saying, I feel so overwhelmed. I feel like I'm not able to keep up with anything, and it's just really hard, and I don't feel safe. And all this stuff came out, and I was like, right, okay, we picked through it. And I was like, I feel it's coming from some form of feeling like you're inadequate, that you're not capable, that you're not enough to do all these things, and it's overwhelming you. And I was like, would you agree? She's like, yeah, that is how I feel, like I'm just not I'm just not enough. And I was like, well, I feel intuitively that it might be better to redirect the session, because you've opened up. As soon as you're in hypnosis, your mind is giving us this to work with. She was like, yeah, we had the most powerful session. Like I don't know if you saw on my Facebook, I shared a testimonial, and it was just unreal what she wrote. It was so, she was like, this has been life-changing. Everyone should experience this. I cannot believe how amazing it was. And like, it was supposed to be something completely different.
Yes, but I was just, as you were speaking, it's all connected. It's all related, isn't it? Because weight loss is 100% linked at its core to I'm not enough. And this is why I love this deeper inner work. You know, I'm not here for the surface stuff. I know most people are here for the surface stuff. And I think that's the problem, that, you know, yes, you can solve the symptoms, but you need to go deeper and get to that core thing. And often, like the example for weight, it's never actually what you think it is. It's never the thing on the surface. There's always a deeper rooted, you know, bigger core thing going on, which is just driving it all. So I'm not surprised that that happened at all. And I love that, because that, I think that's the key, that you follow your intuition and you realize, okay, there's something else here, and let's trust it. Let's trust it and go with it. And I know a lot of people struggle with that.
A lot of weight issues are around protection. So there are a lot of women who suffer with weight issues, more so than guys. Like, and when you get to like your teenage years and you start to develop and you get this unwanted attention, your mind will say, like, how can I get away from this? Or you may have had bad experience. You know, there's a lot of abuse that goes on. So, and even wolf whistles in the street to a 14-year-old who's really shy is going to be mortified. How can I cover my body, my shameful body that attracts this negative attention? I'm going to gain weight, because then they're hidden and it feels safe. So there's this protection of vulnerability. And it might not just be the attention, it could be just feeling vulnerable in general, because they feel unsupported. So if they've got this protection around them, it makes them feel more safe. And I found that with quite a few of the weight loss sessions that I've done. And also having a real, it can be that if you've got a real issue with your mum and don't want to be like her, and she's very slim, then it's like, this makes me different. Because I'm not like my mum. My mum is, so it's like, if my mum is cruel and cold and heartless and it really hurt me, I want to be nothing like her. And the child makes the decision. When I grow up, I'm going to be nothing like my mum. And so then you go to the opposite, because I'm nothing like her, because I'm warm, I'm loving, and I'm big, you know, because she is small, cold and harsh. Because this is children making these decisions.
It is, I'd say this to couples all the time. It's like we learn love before the age of 7, and we learn it from our parents. And it's a waste of time blaming, because then you just lose your power. But that's where this work's really powerful, that you can realize, okay, that was my like very young self, my very childlike self, like a 5-year-old who decided that that's how I needed to behave, or that's who I needed to be. So it's like reparenting. I find this inner work really healing, and literally like reparenting, and coming in and acknowledging, you know, validating the decision you made, because, you know, you felt in that time that was how you would keep yourself safe or protect. But now you're an adult, you can look at it from a broader perspective. You can access your voice, you can make new decisions, and you can protect yourself in other ways. And I think that's really powerful. And we're all really just children in adults' bodies trying to unlearn all of these protection things and relearn a way to feel safe in the world that means we can actually be ourselves. I think that's why I'm so passionate about any form of this work, is we all need to reconnect back to our authentic self, you know, like that who we are inside. And from so early, we start to disconnect from that, just from, you know, the way the world is, the systems, the schools, like the way everything's run to tick boxes. And we're human beings. We're not robots. We don't naturally tick boxes. We have flaws. We have things that, you know, we make mistakes. We're not perfect. And it's like there's this pressure to be perfect, to try and fit into these molds and these cookie cutters of life. And it's like that's what we're trying to do. And then we, you know, become adults, and at some point we, you know, have a midlife crisis, or we just start to question it, and we go, this isn't working. You know, I'm doing all the things, but I'm not getting what I want. Or like so many, you know, people you work with, they're like, I don't, you know, I'm that because that's who I've told myself to be, but I don't want to be that. You know, and then they're like, I don't know who I am. I hear from women all the time, especially after they've had kids, and I went through this experience. Who am I now? You know, and it's that identity shift that we're not prepared for, but of course it happens. You know,
if you're locked down into who you are, like authentically, like on a deep level,
yes,
I've always got this really stupid sense of humor, and I've always love it when people put a funny spin on anything.
yes.
Like my granddad broke his hip on Thursday. He's had his op and he's all fine. He's 95. But it was like, we in the family group, we're keeping it light. And that feels like who I've always been is someone with the sense of humor, and that will, it doesn't matter if I'm a mum or a coach or I'm an old lady. It will always make me laugh when someone says the thing you're not meant to say. It will always make me laugh. So, and that's a good thing to know, you know, because I can always land there and feel like, oh, that's who I am, and I always have been. I've always been a communicator. So it's knowing that about yourself, but that's that's a part of what coaches, or any good coach, will do, is to help you refine and really get in and underneath what it is that you love, that you can have. Because Marissa Peer, she teaches us, and she says this on YouTube as well. She's got loads of lovely videos on this sort of thing, but she says that everything comes down to 3 core beliefs. Every issue, every possible issue that you can imagine, comes from these 3 beliefs. One of them is her main one. This is like what her business is called. I am enough. So it's, I'm not enough. 100%. I'm not enough. I'm inadequate in some way. And I noticed you were saying earlier about becoming a perfectionist and trying to fit in these cookie cutter molds. Why would you try and do that if you didn't feel like you weren't enough? If you felt you were enough, you wouldn't try, because you'd already knew you'd be 100%. Fine. So the perfection and the cookie cutter mold thing is a compensation. Yes. It goes, oh, I'm not enough as I am. Yes. Because my parents are showing me that I'm disappointing. Now I need to be more. And so they compensate. And how that ends up being is adults who are absolute workaholics. Yes. Or they are the pristine mums. Yes. They are bang on every single thing to the millimeter. And it's like that level of stress. Yes. Because my identity isn't me, it's this layer of perfection. Yes. That's acceptable. This is inadequate, that's adequate. Or they buy into the I'm not enough narrative. And that's where we end up with addiction, homelessness. They go, oh, I really am shit. And they just give up. And they get so low, so depressed. So like apathetic. I can't do anything right.
It's like a learned helplessness in that place, isn't it? Yeah.
I won't get that job because I'm rubbish. I won't get that girl, that boy, because I'm rubbish. No one wants me. And so they buy into that narrative. Or the other way, they're like, they will. If I do this, and this, they will love me. I will be enough.
I see that a lot in women, that like, and I can see it because that was the old me, that I'll just do more. I'll just try harder. I'll just work harder. I'll just do more. I'll do more. You can never do enough when it's from that place. You know, when it's from that place
to fill that hole. This is like, I would shout this from the fucking rooftops, Aston. It's not gonna help you, darling. Stop it. Stop it. Yeah. Please.
Just
don't worry about that. Just don't worry. It's not gonna help.
No, it doesn't.
It's not going to help, but there are ways.
And it just reinforces, well, what I learned is it reinforces that I think I'm not enough. It doesn't actually make me feel better. And I see this with women all the time with their never ending to-do lists. I mean, as mums, I get it. But if your value is found in that list being done, and I've said to women before, well, so how did you got the list done that day? How did you feel? They don't feel anything. They feel there's no satisfaction, maybe a little bit, but then there's empty and like resentful and anger and frustration. And why didn't that list give me what I wanted? Because like we're saying, it's not that. It's that you're trying to find your value outside of you, that you're feeding that I'm not enough and I'm only going to be enough if I get all of this done. And even when you get it all done, you're still not enough because it's never that thing. It's that thing underneath that you can't accept yourself as you are. You know, you haven't, which is just crazy because we are not born thinking, I've got to come here and earn my worth. I've got to come here and prove my worth. We just know. We absolutely know it without a shadow of a doubt that I'm worthy of food. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of attention. I'm worthy of affection. Like I am worthy of everything. And it's just crazy how we come here and things happen and then we create this meaning and we forget it and we disconnect from it. But what's so powerful is the same way you disconnected, you can reconnect. You know, it's so possible.
It's surprisingly logical. It's surprisingly logical. Like I will literally say the most obvious things and people were like, oh, yeah, of course. You know, because when you're taking someone back to like being 2 years old, and you know they're in the room and their parents are arguing and taking no notice of them whatsoever, and they feel really upset, they're scared, they don't feel protected. So because they're not being protected and put first and prioritized, it makes them feel like I'm not significant, I'm worthless, I'm not protected, I'm not supported, no one cares about me, my feelings don't matter. And I know that sounds super extreme, but guess what? Kids are in black and white. They're black and white. I said to my daughter the other day, she's sick. She was sick. She's just turned 7 and she's very astute. She's switched on. And I give her this look when we're out in public and she's forgotten her manners or she's going like that. I go, I don't say, but I go, as a correction for me, it's a correction. Hey, come on, you know, and I give her these eyes. And I thought to myself, I wonder how she's perceiving these eyes of mine, because I have never asked her, and I do ask her weird questions, but this is me, and do I.
I think it's great.
I ask her.
Our kids are great teachers. They're such good teachers. And I think it's good to ask those questions because my mum used to give me eyes and I can remember it was like
not good.
She put the fear of God in me. Literally. I was like, I'm going to die. If I don't stop doing this, I'm dead. And that never happened. But as a child, those eyes meant like, I'm the worst person in the world. I'm like, I cannot come back from this. Like, this is, you know, so
it's a form of rejection.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm not being accepted because I'm being looked at in this way that isn't accepting. So therefore I'm being rejected, and rejected is akin to death. And it's all black and white. But guess 100%. What? This is what everybody thinks on a primal level. And I know you know this. We all do, because we're so scared of being rejected from the tribe because we can't hunt around buffalo. So, and it's so weird that we think like this, but we do. And this is why the subconscious work is so important. So my daughter, I said to her, what do these eyes mean? When mummy looks at you like this, and she went, that you don't love me. Oh. I mean, it's hard to repeat. That I've been giving her these eyes. We've got now, and she's like the whole time, she's like, oh, mummy doesn't love me again. And I was like, no. Let me just tell you that is me correcting you. What do mummy's eyes mean when I do this? And she went, it doesn't mean that you don't love me. And I went, no, what does it mean though? And she went, you're telling me to stop chewing with my mouth open or whatever. And I was like, yes, that's what those eyes mean. So she's happy with that. If I had not asked her, and I'm not saying every parent needs to ask everything, but just to understand the psyche of the child, 100%. Is that when I looked at her, and I am the most loving, I'm such a loving mum, 24/7, I'm on her, loving her. And so, but I also have to correct her when she's not behaving. And I don't like calling her out because she gets embarrassed. So I thought, if I say to her, Paige, she gets embarrassed. She's like, because she's getting to that age, she feels really, and everyone can hear. So I give her these eyes, and she's putting a meaning on them that isn't real. So this kid that's in this room that I'm making up with these parents that are arguing feels completely, yes, they do feel worthless, insignificant, unloved. And then they take that, and that's this little label. Because no one comes along and says, what did you think that meant when we were arguing just then? And we didn't come and see you, did we? We just ignored you. I'm so sorry.
And this,
Mummy and Daddy, I've sorted it now.
This is the point that I love that you mentioned, because I even say this in relationships, you know, with the way working through your stuff in your relationships, it's imperfect. It's messy. Like you're a human being. You will do things like just look at each other a certain way. And to you, it means one thing, but to them, it means another. So just be open to going. I started asking Adam, what does that mean to you when I do that? And it opened so much for me. And like, because I was open to receiving it like you were with Paige. And then I could go, okay, well, I don't even need to get angry at you, because that was not my intention. That was not my meaning. But no wonder you reacted like that, because your meaning really matches that. So just being willing and open to and curious, like I find curiosity really helpful. And that's what makes me ask that question. What does that mean to you? And I do it with my kids as well, because it just helps me understand what's going on for them. And, you know, just realizing that we're all in this one reality, but no one's having the same experience of reality ever. No. Because we live through here. So we have these completely different perceptions, and making the mistake. And then, like you said, be willing to clean it up. Like, you don't have to be perfect, and you don't even have to like radically change what you decide to do, but be willing to give it a new meaning, you know, or help them understand your meaning and you understand theirs. And then like, it's so much easier. That has helped me and Adam resolve so many arguments. We talk about this constantly with couples. What meaning are you creating? Because it's never the thing on the surface. It's always what you've made it mean.
What does it mean?
And you do it about everything. We are crazy. Like, we're literally crazy. Everything means something. Everything means something. You could just, you know, they could just bring you in. If Adam brings me in a cup of tea, I create a meaning about that. He hasn't even said anything. He just bought a cup of tea, and I've just created a meaning. And we do it about everything. If someone cuts you off in traffic, you create a meaning. Like, it blows my mind. And most of us create a meaning that's negative.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It's true.
It's like, why do we do that? And, you know, our mind is wired to find problems and to look for things to solve. So, and I get it, but it sucks that most of those meanings are negative. Most of them are like, you know, are not loving, you know, he wants something from me, or, you know, they think I'm a bad driver, so they're cutting me off, or, you know, it's crazy. It doesn't serve us. It's so.
Like, it's trying to protect you from anything harmful. It's trying to help you survive.
Yes.
So it's always seeking to understand. And it's like these people who think that they can tell the future, and they're like, if I pack this, and if I drive at this time, and the weather's going to be like this, and it's like, no, you don't know any of those things. But it's like that control thing.
Yes.
Where I need to do this and control everything because I want a particular outcome that's known to me.
Yes.
Because the mind is saying, if you do all of these things, it will hurt less.
Yes.
Because you're going to feel like you prepared and anticipated as much as you possibly could have done. But then there's always a criticism of, but you didn't do this though. And then you're like fall apart. Because it's like built on a house of blooming sticks or whatever. It's just so fragile. It's all so fragile. But that's when you're living in your mind and you've got this programming. And this is what I see the mind as like the laptop.
Yes.
Right. And so it's got endless capability and possibility for all these good things, for all of this stuff that would really serve you, or stuff that's really interesting to you, or whatever, anything positive. But from young, and this is where it gets, that's why RTT is so amazing, because people don't know what they've been programmed with.
Yes.
When you're young, it's like you're handing your laptop over to your parents and they're typing in, not a good listener, naughty child, not the favorite.
Yes.
Yeah. Hard work, difficult. Okay. So now I've got this computer and I don't even know what's in it. It's in the background. It's all coded in. I'm not aware of it. It just seems like the same laptop. You can chuck so much in on top of it to try and make it good, to try and benefit you. But if those programs are still running, you're really going to struggle. It's going to make it harder. It is going to make it harder, and you're going to find yourself falling down these rabbit holes of like
going back.
The lasting change. Because I tell you what, we are a lot of people are really working hard right now to get themselves out of these holes. It breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart. I see people and they're like, I have tried everything. I've been working on this for years and I don't know what to do anymore. And people feel so powerless, like, help me. They're at the end of their tether. This is why there's suicides all the time. They've got no, I've been to the doctors, I've spoken to friends, I've gone to a retreat. I don't know what to do. I'm trying all this, but all of that's going in on top of the programming that's underneath that you don't even know is there.
Yes.
So how have you got a chance? I want to say, give them a hug and say, you've done it all right. This was not your fault.
Yes. And
it's not your fault.
No, it never is. It never is. And making it your fault doesn't help. Like, you've got to do it from a loving place. Like, you know, I know there's an answer. I want to find that answer. And, you know, love yourself to change. I say this to myself, love yourself through change. Yes. And I say it to my clients. I say it to Adam. Like, in relationships, I think if we could all love ourselves through the change, those transitions in our relationships would be so much easier. You know, to be able to go, okay, well, something needs to change, but we need more love. You know, what's a loving way to look at this? You know, saying that it's my fault, that's like our little child, isn't it?
Programmed to criticize and judge ourselves if we come from a place of, like, and I'm not saying everybody, because a lot of people have been raised in this beautiful way.
Yes.
And you can spot these people, the effortless people.
Yes.
They are effortless. They just are so light and fluffy, a joy to be around. Nothing's an issue. They're fun. They see the good. Everything's easy. There's never a problem, because they've got this whole completeness of unconditionally loved as a child. If everybody who has young children or is planning to have children, just unconditionally love your child to the age of 7, even if you're going to fall apart after that, fair enough. But like, just do that bit. Because, and this is not coming from a place of perfect parent. Because the reason that I changed is because I was an asshole. I was an asshole. I was in turmoil, and she got the brunt, and it was just awful. And I thought, I don't want to be this mum. I don't want to be this person who can't cope and takes it all out on the one person who's in the house with me when she's 2 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I was awful, but I was certainly not optimal. Like, it was not the best I could do.
Yeah, I think.
And that's not me being critical, but
you know,
because even now I'm not perfect, but
me either. And I think you can say that from a loving place and it actually really humbles me. You know, I love now saying I'm imperfect, and it makes me feel actually that I can relate to human beings so much more. You know, when I was trying to be perfect, I felt very isolated and alone all of the time. But now that I can go, I've made mistakes. I stuffed that up. That was embarrassing. I'm just going to take responsibility. It's so much more empowering, and I feel more connected, and I can relate more because we're actually all in the same boat.
It does. We both did a little boat analogy, but it takes the wind out of people's sails when you come at them from this place of truth.
Yes.
The truth. I hold my hands up that I still am working through things myself. I've got an RTT session for me tonight. I and I'm in conversations with someone else who's a coach, who we've said about coaching each other because of this, like, you know, but
well, like we said, it's forever. We're a work in progress and our greatest masterpiece. Like, and I think, you know, when someone loves what they're doing, if they're doing what they're teaching, you know, I still go through in my own relationship what I teach. Like, that's why I can relate to what they're going through. That's why you can relate to what they're going through, because you're still doing it. And I think that's the key, you know, love it that much that even you want to do it. Then of course you're going to want to share it with other people. And I'm so excited for mine and Adam's sessions. I'm so excited. I'm like, oh, I want to work on this. I want to work on this. I'm like struggling to nail it down to like.
Because in the consultation, we will nail it down, because some people come and I've got this intake form, and it covers so many different areas that everyone ticks. And some people like tick almost everything that I say, what's an issue? They're like self-worth, confidence, public speaking, relationship, like everything, stress. And they're like, so what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about every area. And then I'll just get you to pick the one that feels the most important at that moment, because you are Aston. So it really is just coming from one place, and they're all branches of the same tree with symptoms. There will be behavioural adaptations to this not enoughness or the other two.
Yes, what were the other two? I was going to ask you about them.
Right down the not enough rabbit hole, but that's so important. That's a massive one.
That's huge.
The second one is what I want is not available to me.
Wow, what I want is not available to me. And that you would have
no matter how hard I try, no matter how hard I try, I can't have what I want. I'm not worthy of what I want, or whatever it is. So again, with these people that are listening who are trying everything and getting so fed up with themselves or with what they're doing, and they're like, I feel like I can't do anymore. It could well be this belief that if you believe that what you want isn't available to you, and you want to feel good, or you want to attract a good relationship, that belief in the background is dragging you back.
It's literally limiting you. You can't, like we said, it's like that road train in the way. Like, it doesn't matter how much you want it. If you don't believe that
I can't have it,
actually have it, then you won't have it, will you? It's believing is such a huge part of it. I feel like people just throw that around, like, you know, as if it's nothing. I'm like, it's everything. That, you know,
belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. It's just a thought. So if you were to think in your head right now, I'm amazing, and just say it in your head, like, okay, I just said I'm amazing, like that voice that's in your head, that's your mind, and it's not 100%. You. Those thoughts aren't you, but I'm amazing, I'm amazing. If you think that every single day, and as kids, you only need to think it a few times before it sticks, because they're so suggestible and receptive. But as adults, I'm amazing, I'm amazing, I'm amazing. How are you? I'm amazing, I'm amazing. Every single day, the repetition, it will go, and there's your connection, your neural pathway that's created to I'm amazing, and you're going to feel better. Then you believe it.
I love that
I've repeated it enough, so I believe it.
Yes, and we do believe it like it's a fact. This is why beliefs are so powerful. And it's a thought that you repeat, and then it's a fact to you, but it's not a fact. It's just a belief. It's just a thought. So this is where you realize it is that easy to retrain or reprogram. You know, you can do it. I love that you chose the word amazing, because I did this a few years ago. And I chose that word amazing, and I connected myself, Aston is amazing, to amazing. Amazing means me, I am amazing. And I did all that repetition work, and no joke, my best friend and my husband, anytime they referred to me, they would say, you're amazing. Aston's amazing. Oh, she's amazing. And it was so amazing how when you train yourself, you train other people. And that we are doing that, like in our relationships and in our life, the way we train ourselves, we're training other people to treat us that way by like what we speak over ourselves, those beliefs we think. And it's amazing how it's then reflected on the outside. I love that part. I think it's just incredible. And what was the third one?
The third one was I'm different and I can't connect.
Oh, I've not heard that one before. I'm different And
so that's really hard, because that triggers the rejection fear within people. It's like, so what that does is, often if you feel different and you can't connect, again, you need to adapt. So either you buy into the narrative and you go, okay, I can't connect, and so then you're alone. You step away from people. You don't want to be in groups. You don't belong anywhere. So you become this lonely, detached person. Or you change yourself. You become something more, something different. You become the one who's always caring and people pleasing. You make yourself significant in a certain way, like you have to be brilliant or whatever, you know, so that then you fit in, and you have to make yourself belong.
That's incredible.
And so if you feel different, you know, it's really hard for kids if they are the only Black child in a white school, or if they're the only Jewish child in a non-Jewish community. Children love being the same as each other. Nothing delights my daughter more than going, oh, I've got that dress, I've got that lunchbox, we're the same. Because the same means safe on a primal level. I'm accepted because we're the same. I remember I didn't like my surname, just to remind anyone who's just listening, it's Retigan. And I wanted it to be Smith or Davies or Jones, because I thought it made me stand out in a way that I wasn't comfortable with.
Wow.
My name.
Yeah.
You know, and when you're talking about something like, if you're the overweight child, and people comment on it and draw it out and go, oh, you're, you know, so bigger than you need a bit more food, don't you? Because you'll be hungry or whatever. Make you stand out, and it makes you feel like you can't connect with people, that you don't belong. And so then straight away you need to do something different in order to be part of the group. And that's when we detach from our true selves and create this new identity. And so I had a client I had amazing success with. He was a cocaine addict.
Yeah. Wow.
He did an RTT session on his addiction. We had one session. He hasn't touched it since. And with the money he's saved, he's taken his family on holiday.
Oh.
So it's a lovely, it was really an honor. It always is. But he was like literally tattooed up to the eyeballs, like this real man's man. And he's Eastern European. So not to give too much detail. So he was in his car because his kids are running riot in the house. So he's propped me up on his dashboard on his phone, but he was so dedicated to doing this session. So he's like, I love my family, but every Friday I spend all of my money on cocaine. Oh. And every Friday I wish I wouldn't do it, and then I will do it. And my partner is going to leave me, and she loves me and I love her, but she can't cope with me anymore. So the reason I'm telling this story is because addiction often comes from I'm not enough, because when you're not enough, you need more. But in this case, he had moved from in the country he lived. He'd moved from being a country boy and not really having like many people around to living in the city as a teenager. And he felt he spoke differently, and he dressed wrong. And he felt this lack of belonging, but he was all alone, and he was 17 and he wasn't with anyone in his family. So I'm different, I can't connect, so I don't have anyone around me now. And then it was some kind of work thing, he got invited along and they were all drinking, and he drank too and had the most fun, really felt part of something. Was laying there giggling and chatting, and then they were like, come out with us again, and was part of the gang. So then it escalated. They're like, have this, you'll love it, you know, we're all going to go out together. So it was his gateway to belonging. To not being different, because even though his voice was different and even though his clothes were different, he still had this thing that made him the same. So then when he moved to England, he was again cast into this old pattern of, how do I connect? I know what I'll do. This is my fail-safe. It worked beautifully before. The mind goes, let's do this again. It's not a conscious thing. Let's do it again. Let's do the play out that story again. And so now he's got these friends. They're not good friends, but they're drug friends. But this is how he belongs. And it's and so once I showed him that, he didn't know that's why he was doing it. When I don't know why I'm doing it. I don't know why I'm doing it. I do this script. So it's a 21-day recording that you listen to after the session. His recording was based all around his language that he'd given me in the consultation, which told me he wants to belong and be a part of his family. 2 children, partner. He wanted to have more kids. He wanted her to be his wife. He belongs there now. But the only way he can belong there is if he lets go of that old behavior. And he really will belong there. And so it was all around that, letting go of that negativity, doesn't need it. In order to belong, they love him as he is, not the behavior. And so he was like, it was just like night and day. I just had no interest.
I mean, that it just comes back to, he was just meeting a need.
Yes.
You know, that like,
he needed to be part of something. He would have been lost. He was only, I think he was 16, 17.
And this is the humanness of all of us. Like, I'm like, we need to remember like our souls, like this, you know, behind like everything else, we're all souls just trying to live out those things we want to feel. We want to be loved. We want to be accepted as we are. We want to feel safe. You know, there's just some basic primal things that we want, and we are all wired to meet them, and we will meet them in whatever way we have to meet them. And if that thing, even if it's negative, gives us that, then that's what happens. And you know, I've had family who have had addictions and things, you know, drug abuse and things like that, and I think once you've experienced it, you understand, you know, they're still human beings. Like whatever the thing, whether you're, you know, having issues in your relationship, if it's weight loss, if it's things with your kids, if it's addictions, it's at the end we're all human. Nobody, I really don't believe, and I believe at our core, at the soul, we all are love. You know, I really believe that. I really believe that's who we all are. And like you said, the biggest thing with those 3 beliefs, it was that we believe we're not enough. Just to recap, because I thought that was really powerful, that we believe we're not enough. We believe we can't have what we want, is that it was not or what we want is not available to us. Yep. And then I'm different and I can't connect. So I loved that you pointed those out, because I feel like every single one of them comes back to a disconnection from our authentic self, which actually knows we can have all of that. And all this work is about reconnecting back to your authentic self, to who you were before they reprogrammed you with that computer. And bless our parents, bless us, because no one, you know, we're not taught this in school. We're not taught that when you talk over your child, you're difficult, you're hard, you're frustrating. We're not taught that it goes into their subconscious mind and then that's who they believe they are. But that's why I love that all this information is now more freely available, that we can see that and then we can question it, like you did. You were like, I'm going to ask her what my eyes mean to her, and I'm going to question it. That's what I do in my relationship with Adam. I'm going to ask him what that means to him. Maybe that's why he's reacted like that. And then I get to make a different choice. I have a deeper understanding. It's so powerful. That deeper understanding really unlocks the compassion, the love, the empathy, everything we're craving. It's incredible.
Yeah. And I think what you were saying earlier about the reparenting, you know, because you said we're all wired to need, these are needs, but they were needs.
Yes.
But we don't need it anymore.
I
don't need my parents to love me anymore.
No.
It's lovely that they do. It's really lovely that they do. I appreciate it. I'm grateful for it. I don't need it. I'm not getting anything out of it other than enjoyment of that connection.
Yeah.
When you are a child, you will die.
Yes.
You will just die.
It is like life and death. Yes. And that's
why it feels so raw.
It does, yeah. And even in relationships, like I think I say this all the time, I love Adam's love, but I actually don't need it. And that's healthy. You know, I believe I'm whole as myself. I love myself dearly. Like, there is nobody else I would rather be. I'm not perfect. I have so many flaws. I'm still working through stuff, but I would still choose me again and again and again. Like, I've cultivated that relationship. Like, I know you have. You've worked to cultivate this relationship that who I am is enough. And I love myself as I am, but I'm also welcoming who I'm becoming. I'm excited about what I can become. You know, not because who I am right now is broken or wrong or not enough. Like, I think that's key for everybody. You know, it's not because where I am now is not good enough. It's because I'm welcoming what I'm capable of, what other opportunities, who I could become, like a butterfly, you know.
Stagnant, and that's not appealing. Like, everybody wants to see what's around the corner. It's exciting. See, for me, it's like pass the parcel, you know, like unwrapping to find out new stuff. I get such a kick.
More layers.
Get such a kick out of finding an old dusty belief. I'm like, no way, I was not thinking that. I love that. And then I like really go at it, and I'm like, no, you're not staying. You're not helpful. So then I get rid of it, and it's fun for me. I enjoy it because I know I'm full of them. And I'm just going around. And if I mean, how boring would it be to be perfect? It just is not. Well, I couldn't.
And exhausting. Like, when I was trying to be perfect, it was exhausting. It was lonely. It was isolating. I couldn't connect. You know, it's not real life. It's not real. It's real that we have challenges. It's real that we have things that we work through. You know, I think we're sold this lie that if you have a challenge or a problem, avoid it, hide it in the cupboard, don't let anybody see it. Don't, you know, I think that's kind of what we're taught, that if you show the world that, they're going to reject you. And I'm like, no, because we've all got that. I'll show you mine, you show me yours, and maybe I might even be able to learn something from yours, you know, and you can learn from mine. I like you, like to see it as something I need to unwrap, something I need to open and go into, not something I need to ignore, avoid, and put in the cupboard, because there's a gift. Like, there's gold in there. It's like a treasure chest of like unexplored potential that is you. And I love that. But you can be whole and still find more. I think that's the key. Like, in my relationship with Adam, it's been so important for us to be whole as separate people and then come together. You know, we've been together since we were 14 and 15, and that meant we created some natural codependencies where I thought I was going to get something from him and he thought he was going to get something from me, for us to be complete, whole, lovable, all these things. And it took us a lot of journeying, a lot of learning and unlearning to realize that's not true. And that's part of the problem. I must be whole in myself, and my love must be enough for me, and your love must be enough for you. And then when we come together, we can create something beautiful. We can actually give to each other, because I'm not going to you to actually get something so that I feel enough, you know. And
such a wealth of knowledge to share with that, because being 14 and 15, you were still children.
Yes.
So you were still in that mindset of, I need that love and I need 100%. Someone to give something to me. And quite rightly, because you were kids.
Yes.
So the fact that you have been able to just go like this full circle and be where you are now, all these years later, you've got such a wealth of experience and knowledge and hard work that
I was going to say, it took work. Definitely took work. It didn't just, you know, because
and I know that
they just they form and you don't even see them. Like you said, they just go underneath, like under the radar. It's not until you go question that and go, hang on a minute, that's not, you know, it worked then, because, you know, in the beginning, it works for a few of us. You know, it did when we were kids, and it did for me and Adam. Some of those things were working in the beginning, but the longer we were together and then we had kids in the mix, it was like, hang on a minute, this isn't working. Like, you know, and I think so many couples go through this, and this is where they'll go, oh, it used to be this, and it used to be so great. Well, it worked then, and there was probably some codependencies, you know, almost definitely. But then it does come to a point where they do stop working, these codependencies and these needs that we were meeting from our childhood. And that's when the work begins. And it is hard. It does take work, but it's so incredibly worth it. And it's gold when you go into it. It's, I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm so grateful that I've been able to go on this journey, you know, from 14 to 33 and, you know, see all these different versions of myself and Adam, and to go through that process. It's just been incredible. So much learning.
It is amazing. And so you're offering like couples the opportunity to have all of your hindsight.
Yes.
Which is such a gift. And I love that. I'm really on this path of wanting to help inspire parents to understand the way that kids' minds work.
Oh,
because I think it's so important. Like, I'm creating
incredible.
different like workshops and stuff because it's like things I wish I'd known sooner. Parenting edition. Like 100%. I wish I'd known that sooner. If I'd have known, because I have regressed multiple skeptical adults to being either in the womb or a newborn baby, and they tell me how they feel, what they can hear, what they know, and how and what the meaning is. I swear to you, I swear to you,
I love that.
Like it's no. That I had one client say, and she was a little bit not 100% sure how it was going to pan out. It wasn't fully committed to the idea of it. Some people are real believe, oh, I love all this, and others are a bit like, okay, we'll see how it goes. And she was one of those. And we did 2 scenes that we regressed back to, and one was an adult scene, one was a childhood scene, and then the third one was this. Oh no, it was the second one actually. Anyway, and she was like, it's all. She was really frightened. She was like, it's all blue. And I can see blue, and I'm used to this. Like I work with shapes and colors and whatever comes up, and I just have to try and interpret where it is that their mind has taken us to. And this all sounds very airy fairy. By the way, I am not that sort of person. I literally would be like, what a load of old shit. But I've seen it myself, so I can't lie. It's just the truth. So she's like, I feel really young. I actually think I'm in the womb, but she didn't even want to say it because she felt almost embarrassed. Like, what a ridiculous thing to say. And then I went, how are you feeling? And she went, really calm, really, really content. And I'm excited to meet the voices. And I was like, okay. I was like, so let's just move it along a little bit. And we want you to be out in the world now. And she was like, yeah, okay, like it's bright. And I said, right, so what are you feeling now? And she said, not good. And I was like, what's going on? And she said, they're disappointed I'm not a boy.
Oh my gosh.
Disappointed that you're not a boy, and it makes you feel. And she was like, I feel unwanted. I feel not good enough. I'm not right. And I shouldn't be here.
Wow.
This is a newborn baby that thinks I'm not wanted and I shouldn't be here. What an early tag to have. And it's just reminded me of another one where she was in the womb and her mum was trying to abort her and it didn't work. And she knew that she was not wanted, not loved, and felt like there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. That's why she doesn't want me. And so from literally before birth, she's got this feeling of, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I'm even here. And still now she struggles with this being visible.
Yes.
She wants to hide. She wants to be back in there going, please, I'm so sorry that I'm here. I'm such an inconvenience. And it sticks. It's like a dagger to the heart, because babies are pure sensation. They're literally a pure sensation, and they come out and they can feel everything. Which is why people say, oh yeah, by the third child, they're really chilled out. No, you are.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
You're chilled out. It's the same. It's a baby. It's a baby. Yeah. It's a baby. Yeah, the first one, oh God, really like cried all the time.
No,
really
it's
hard.
us.
Third one, no bother. It's you, as 100%. If it's the baby.
Yeah, after having 2 kids, I 100% agree with that. That's what I fully agree, because I was definitely, and I was in a total different situation when I had Avon. There was a lot of stress, there was a lot of uncertainty, like, you know. So when he was born and he, like, his got a lot of emotions. I was not surprised. Like, I put two and two together.
You did. Yeah.
You know, most people probably don't, but I was like, I was highly emotional when I was pregnant with him. He's highly emotional. I totally understood that I had helped create this, you know, and I didn't beat myself up for it, but I just had understanding of that, you know, don't make him wrong. That's just who he is. And I had a part in that. Willow, totally different experience. She's so chilled out. I was way more chilled out. You know, I was in a different place completely. So, you know, so when she was such a good sleeper, I remember saying to people, it's not, well, it is me, but it's not what I've done. Like, I haven't made her a good sleeper. I was just calmer. So she's calmer. So she's a better sleeper. With my son, I was stressed.
Sensing threat, you know, because the stress hormone is all coming off, and they are on you, sucking 100%. On you. They're with you in your experience. For the first few months, the baby actually thinks it's part of you.
Yeah. Well, it was for a long time, wasn't it?
Part of you. They think you're part of your body, and they feel your feelings. And this is just in the interest of sounding like a lunatic, because I might as well, because I'm going to throw it in there. I regress myself. Okay. I do RTT on myself.
Love that.
All right.
I was going to ask you, do you? I was going to ask you, can you? Yeah.
It's hard, actually.
I've done Reiki. Yeah, I've done Reiki, and I do it on myself. And I was like really curious. Can you do it on yourself? That's awesome.
I've actually told that to other RTT therapists, and they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I just tried it. Like, I thought I would see how it went. And it is funny because it takes, you know, what would be probably an hour, it takes me about 5 hours to do, because I drifting off on a rainbow, and then I'm like, oh, where was I? And because I'm in this relaxed state. But I've always been claustrophobic.
Oh.
And I've had night terrors. So a night terror is slightly different to a nightmare, where you have a really physiological response. You literally, I will bolt out of bed, and my hands are sweat, my heart rate is absolutely through the roof.
Yes.
But it's more just a feeling than the imagination. It's like a reaction.
Yes, physical.
So I would always have this image in my mind of just being trapped, like between two doors or under something, and then this extreme feeling of wanting to fight. And I was in a bunk bed, in the bottom bunk bed, and I'd kicked all the panels out of the top bunk where I've been fighting. All my feet were bleeding, where I'm like, get me out of here, get me out of here. So this real claustrophobia that I'd suffered with, it is so much better now. But if somebody trapped me in a duvet cover, I've got an issue with it. I can't get, like, I couldn't be in a duvet cover or a tent or something, and someone closed me in, I'd freak out.
Wow.
But so I was like, what's that? Just because I'm very curious. So and again, it's I feel really content, but it's all black. And I feel all bundled, and I'm like, I know where I am. I'm in the womb, and I'd never done it before or since, where I've gone back to being a young baby. And so my experience is really lovely. I'm enjoying it. And then there's this like spike of fear that plunges into my body, and I'm like absolutely stricken, and I'm trying to get out, and I can't move. Wow. I'm trapped in there, and like this adrenaline of fear that's flooding through my body. And then moments later, I went back down, complete contentment, and forgotten all about it, just complete contentment again. And I got the impression, because whenever I ask someone, how old are you, they always know. And I was like, I feel like I was around the 7-month mark, because I felt quite a big baby, because I didn't have loads of room, but I wasn't huge. I know this is really weird, everybody, guys.
I love this.
So I spoke to my mum, and my mum's got a notoriously not great memory. And I said to her, did anything happen along the lines of extreme, like were you held at gunpoint or something along those lines, that level of fear, when you were about 7 months pregnant with me? She's like, I don't think so. I can't remember anything. And I was like, it's okay. It was just out of interest.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure whether this was complete madness, and I'd completely misread it. So anyway, 2 weeks go by, and my mum does her thinking in the bath. It's a good place to do it. But she was in the bath and she phoned me all of a sudden. And she's like, I've just realised what you were asking me the other day. Yes. Your sister, so my sister's 2 years older than me, so she wouldn't have been quite 2. She said, I was out in the utility room, and the utility room was linked to the garage. So you'd have the back door open and the garage open and the wind would blow through. And she said, I went out into the garage and turned around, and your sister was looking round the door, and she had her fingers not in the door like that, but in the hinge.
Yes.
Her fingers were in the hinge, and the wind whipped through and the door slammed on her fingers.
Oh.
My mum went back and she said, oh my gosh. And she went, I thought, I can't open the door because her fingers are going to drop off. She's got no fingers. And she said, I've never felt so scared. And I know most people would have remembered this, but my mum's memory is not ideal. Yeah. She went, and it was before she was 2. I was probably about, 7-8 months pregnant. And because I remember, because I had to take her up like the hospital, they hadn't come off, but she thought, oh, they definitely have. This is just horrendous. And I said, I experienced that spike of fear and adrenaline whilst I was in your belly, and I couldn't get out. Oh. And it was dark, tight, and restricting. And that fear of not being able to escape has stayed with me. And still now, I would really have to center myself in order to cope in a tight, dark environment. Like I would have to go to a different place, because that fear is so real for me, because it went into my body.
Yes.
And it's unreal. Like,
incredible.
But if you were dealing with a claustrophobic fear, I could say, you're no longer this is what I was saying about being really logical. You're no longer in your mum's stomach. You don't have to feel her feelings. It wasn't your fear, it was hers. And it wasn't your experience of being in the tight space. It was your mum's experience of that traumatic event.
Wow.
And you can go, oh shit, yeah, you are right.
And that,
you were happy in there. You were happy in there before. You were happy in there before and after. So you can be super content in a tight, dark space.
Yes.
It was just that moment.
Oh, that's so powerful. That's incredible.
Wouldn't it?
That's absolutely incredible. Oh my God, I love that. I'm so excited for my session. That's all I can think about. I'm sitting here going, oh my God, am I going to go to my womb? Like, am I going to go back to the womb? That's super exciting.
It's so fascinating. Like every session I get so excited, because it's just going into the depths of someone else's mind and then having them lump it all out in front of you and then helping them work through what was the meaning, like, what did this mean? And sometimes people are really disconnected from themselves.
Yes.
So you have to kind of guide them deeper, because it's like, oh, well, I think, and they'll say that. It's like, I think I was a bit upset. And I'm like, so you're telling me that your mum has just left and never comes back, and you're 7 years old and you were so close, and she's left and never ever come back, and you were a bit upset. I don't feel like that's how that child felt. Like I have to sort of drive that,
help them connect.
I want you to really be like, I'm 7 years old, my mum has just left and it's made me feel, and they'll be like heartbroken, abandoned, rather than, oh, I was a bit upset, because that's what adults will go, oh yeah, well, when my mum left when I was 7, it was really hard, like it was hard, but it's not
it's not
honoring the depth of it.
It's not connecting to the feeling. And I think that is the problem. Like, you have to feel it to heal it. Like, so with a lot of work, it's just like we said, surface level, like, oh, that happened, okay, I get it, move on. Well, no, like you don't move on. You don't. No. Like, unless you feel it and you go there, you don't just move on. You carry it with you to the next thing. You literally take it into the future with you. And then that's why those patterns keep repeating, like patterns in relationship, or patterns at work, or patterns with money. Like, it's not actually confusing how it happens, and we don't
walking around with landmines, putting them out in front of you, all around you. And then when somebody treads on them, blaming them.
Yeah. Yes. I love that. And we all have it. We've all got our own landmines. Everyone's got
to be you've got to be accountable for them. That's the good thing. Like, once you understand yourself, like I know now that if somebody were to playfully, this is very strange, playfully shut me in a duvet cover while I was putting something or shut me in a cupboard. For me to then come out all guns blazing and be like, how dare you, Rose? Yes. I'd have to know that there's my landmine that's just gone off.
Yes.
And this is something that is within me that I don't like, that they've got no idea that I don't like.
Yes.
So I come out and I explain, please don't do that to me again. I know you were playing, but it's a real deep-seated fear with me. Because when I was in my mum's tummy,
yes, and this is what happened,
and then it's easier.
100%. I love
rather
that.
than coming out going, how dare you do that to me? You're an arsehole, you know.
I love that, and because we all do this, like this blame thing, and that he did this to me, he made me feel that, or she made me feel that, and it's like, well, no, we're feeling it from within us. Like, I love that you said, like, it's to do with me, and that can be empowering. It doesn't, again, it's not like this is my fault, I've done this. It's like, no, this is within me. It's within my control to move through it. And if I can take control of it, if I can take responsibility, then I can get myself through it. You know, waiting for that other person to change. I mean, I did this forever in my relationship, you know, and I hear women say all the time, well, no, if he would just do this, this, and this, or if she just wasn't like that, everything would be fine. Well, no, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't. And that's never going to happen, because you don't have control over whether they change or whether they stop doing that thing or whatever. And you can do that, and you can waste your life and waste all your energy. It's really exhausting trying to change every single body else but yourself, you know, and, you know, it's like we can change 500 billion people, or we can just come back to ourselves, you know, and just decide, okay, and do this work. What is it within me? You know, what do I need to look at? And I love that. And I love that your work enables people to go to that deeper place in, you know, in such a shorter amount of time, to get to that root thing, which most people just cannot find by themselves. And I really do believe we all need help to find these things. That's why I love relationships, because relationships, and like whether you've got kids or in a relationship, they put your things in front of your face. They reflect it back to you. You know, so you go, okay, I'm triggered. You know, I love to see triggers as truth. So like, okay, I've been triggered. That's not something to avoid. That's something to go into. You know, what is that? I want to know what that is. And then this is, you know, it's no longer going to trigger me if I know what it is. The answer isn't that you need to behave in X, Y, Z. The answer is that I need to go into that trigger so I understand what it means to me. And I love that your work lets you do that. So I'm just super excited for mine and Adam's sessions. We'll definitely share on the podcast about our experience. And I just want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your wisdom or your stories. I love your stories. You have me on the edge of my seat the whole time, goosebumps and all. I just so in it. And I'm going to get all Nikki's details, get Nikki's links. I'll put them all below, so it's super easy to find Nikki and the amazing work she's doing with RTT. And just thank you so much for being here. Beautiful. I've absolutely loved it.
More than welcome. You're so on the same wavelength as me with everything that you say. You're going to be a dream to work with, because you're so available to look inward.
Yes.
And I've found when I work with people who are fellow coaches or therapists or, you know, healers in some respect, they are such a dream. Yes. Because they're so ready to go to the darkest depths.
Yes.
And it's not a prerequisite. I've worked with some very tight people who have been really resistant because there's a lot of pain.
Yes.
I don't want to look at that. That really hurts me. It's a lot of vulnerability, but
that would be helpful for Adam and like lots of listeners. But Adam has been, people are always like, how did you two end up together? Because I'm like so open, and I'm like, if I ask people, like, I remember asking my family once, like, you know, if there was one word to describe me, one intrinsic value about me, what would it be? I asked them all separately. You should do this. It's really interesting. They all said deep. No joke. They all said, some of them had a paragraph, others had just one word, but in it all said, you're so deep. Yeah. And I was like, that's actually the greatest compliment I could ever receive. Like, that's what I want to be known for, being deep. And like, I'm here for the depths.
like I had to ask 3 people as part of the coaching calls, 3 people to describe me in 5 words.
Oh,
and I had funny was across all of them.
yes, I would say that.
Passionate,
Yes.
caring. So, but then there were some different ones in there.
Beautiful.
But that was really nice. But I love passionate,
Yes.
because I think living a life as a passionate person, it just, you're getting to the outer parameters of receiving everything in life, be it the negative, passionately negative, passionately positive. You know, I try to be more passionately positive, but I think passion is.
I love that. Just letting life touch you. I feel the same. I people often refer to me as passionate as well. And I think that's why I like the depths, because the depths mean I can feel it all. You know, I'm not just here for the easy, playful, you know, I've always believed, you know, anyone can smile on a good day when everything's going right. What matters to me is, what do I find in myself when stuff goes hard? You know, like, I'm like, that's awesome. If I can bring passion to that, then I know I'm alive, I'm living, you know, and I love that you're the same. I love that. Oh, amazing. Well, I've absolutely loved chatting with you. We better round it up. Otherwise we'll be here like for hours, literally. But thank you so much. Beautiful. And yeah, I'm so excited to work with you.